Hello, Trail Seeker, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Learn True Health podcast. You're going to love learning from today's guest. And Louise Gittleman has been one of my heroes in the holistic health space since I was a teenager. I had her on the show back in episode 284, so I recommend going back and listening to that. She's written 32 books in her career and quite an amazing woman. She is absolutely the expert when it comes to learning about detoxification, supporting your organs like the liver and the brain, and healing the brain, and also parasites. I read her book, her parasite cleanse book, back when I was a teenager. My mom and I did her parasite cleanse, and it was very effective. We got tested before and after, and I've been fascinated by her work ever since. I also recommend you guys listen to episode 348 and episode 349. I had her husband on the show, James Templeton. His story that he tells is just kind of mind-blowing. He had cancer and he was in a really bad shape. And he tells the story of how he actually escaped the hospital when he realized that they were trying, like it was they were going to kill him. The therapy was absolutely, well, you just got to listen to the story. But in the middle of the night, he escapes the hospital and says, I am never going back to doing that kind of chemo and all that stuff. And then he discovered more and more holistic ways of doing things, and he healed his body, and he wrote a book on how he did it and how he's been cancer free for many years. Doctors did not think he would live for 5 years, and I believe it was something like 30 years ago, or 25 or 30 years ago. And he ended up finding his now wife, who's been a holistic hero for going on 40 years. And together, they're such a powerful team. One thing we talk about in one of our interviews with him is that he has a YouTube channel where he interviews other people who are survivors of cancer and how they did it. And interesting, you learn a lot of different, not every therapy works for every person, but you learn a lot of new holistic methods, or maybe they're new to you, but they're not new by any means. And so just really beautiful, inspiring, both of them. Love to focus on education and spreading this information, which is my calling too. So I definitely know that you'll enjoy listening to those episodes and then following them as well. Anne Louise does talk about, she mentions magnesium, and she does have a really great oral magnesium supplement she likes. Now, if you've been a long time listener, you've heard that me share about how much I love the magnesium soak from Living the Good Life Naturally. And that's just another way to get magnesium into you. What I love about that is it bypasses the digestion. And so you actually absorb, she did tests of the water of the magnesium soak, and we absorbed 20 grams of magnesium while we're soaking for 1 hour. You soak your feet in a bowl of water, any temperature you want, just as long as the bowl's not plastic. It could be metal, ceramic, just any of glass, just think wood, I suppose. Or you could put it in your bath as well. It's safe for children. It's safe for everyone. And it's natural that the body absorbs as much as it needs, which is great. You can't really overdose when you're absorbing because it's through diffusion. We've had over 2,000 listeners purchase it and try it, and many of them have purchased it again. And we have if you go, you have to kind of comb through our Learn True Health Facebook group, which you can use the search function to do that. We've had over 200 listeners over the last few years share testimonials and stories about how the magnesium soak has helped them. Migraines, people have reported migraines going away. Pain, aches and pains going away, better sleep, more energy. I love it. Restless legs going away. I love it because my son, who is so energetic and never wants to fall asleep, it calms him down and helps him sleep. And I notice that I just overall feel better. It's also really helped me through supporting my liver and doing the heavy metal detoxing that I've been doing for the last few years. I've noticed that it really did support my liver and calm it down. And I got better results when I incorporated it in terms of my detoxification. Plus, I notice I just feel better, more vital, more energy. Not that I was getting a lot of restless legs to begin with, but I did notice a few times that I'd have that sort of itchy feeling in the evening. My legs just kind of itched. The muscles kind of just were like, just it's an indescribable sensation, but restless is a really good way to describe it. And I was already taking a very good oral magnesium, and then when I got into the magnesium soak, it completely went away. So I thought that was really interesting. But yeah, listen to my episodes. I've had Kristen Bowen on the show several times. She's the founder of the magnesium soak that I absolutely love. And what I love about her, she has a health journey. Just to give you a little teaser, she was 97 pounds, having 30 seizures a day in a wheelchair, almost unable to talk. That was her 15 years ago. And today she's very active, very healthy. And this was I'm not going to say this is like a magic bullet, the magnesium soak, but it was one of the biggest contributing factors to her recovery after she had a surgery to remove some things inside her. And she'll just go listen to the first episode, the magnesium foot soak episode with Kristen Bowen, and you will be amazed at her story. To listen to the episodes with Kristen Bowen and learn more about the magnesium soak, you can listen to episode 294, 341, and 381. Those are my 3 episodes with Kristen Bowen. Definitely go back and listen to episode 294, as her story is quite amazing. Now, to get the listener discount, she does give us a discount. Use coupon code LTH at checkout when you go to livingthegoodlifenaturally.com, and then click on the magnesium products and grab the magnesium soak. I also love the magnesium cream and the muscle cream as well, but really the magic is in soaking in the magnesium. So that's coupon code LTH at livingthegoodlifenaturally.com. I also interviewed sort of the magnesium doctor, Dr. Carolyn Dean. It was a very, very long, detailed, lots of information in that interview. It was over 2 hours. And she shared something very interesting. Now, she's a naturopath and an MD. She's been practicing medicine for over 40 years. And very well known in the holistic space as the magnesium doctor. And she says that magnesium is the most important mineral of the body. It is used in 1,800 enzymatic processes in the body. Zinc is second most important at 800 enzymatic processes. So if you think about it, if you're deficient in magnesium, 1,800 things in your body aren't able to fully function, aren't able to fully do their job. And then the body starts to display symptoms. Symptoms are the smoke, not the fire. Symptoms are the body saying to us, hey, I don't have the raw building blocks I need to maintain. Just like if your car was, overheating, or there's like some weird smoke coming out of your car, like you need to pull over. The check engine light comes on. You need to pull over. You need to, get that belt changed and get the oil changed. And there's maintenance. There's things the car needs, and the body is the same way. The body needs a certain amount of all these nutrients to function. If you're zinc deficient, there's 800 things that can go wrong in the body. One of them is losing your sense of smell, losing your sense of taste. I know a naturopathic physician here locally who told me that one of her patients came into her after going to all kinds of doctors and doing all kinds of tests, and they told her it was in her head. She couldn't feel her entire body. She touched things and her fingers were numb, her hands were numb. She didn't feel pressure. Her entire body didn't have a sensation of pressure. And my friend, who's a naturopath, said, you know what? I'm going to get you on some zinc. And sure enough, it was such a severe zinc deficiency that her nervous system could not function properly. that's how important these minerals are. And there's actually 60 minerals the body needs. And so if you're deficient one, you're usually deficient in several, because it's really hard to just eat food that only is missing one nutrient. So we're typically, if you have any symptoms of health issues, typically it's a mineral deficiency, because there's 60 minerals the body needs, and we're usually deficient in a bunch of them. And we have to supplement because we're not getting enough in our diet. And we talked about this with Dr. Joel Wallach. I had him on the show a few times. He's one of my mentors who's mentored me for the last 10 years. And he has a degree in soil agriculture and a naturopath, and he's a research scientist. He's published so many things, and what he saw was that there's a deficiency in our soil because of the farming practices, and there is a direct link between that and 900 diseases. He was able to, over a 12-year study he conducted, that was actually federally funded, he discovered that 900 diseases that cross species lines are linked to 90 essential nutrients the body could be missing. If you're missing a handful of them, then you could have several diseases. Now, the good news is we can reverse them through diet and supplementing the diet with specific nutrients. So the good news is we can heal the body. The body isn't pharmaceutical drug deficient, it's nutrient deficient. And Louise Gittleman talks about this today. She talks about some nutrients that we can make sure that we're getting. I also recommend checking out takeyoursupplements.com. These health coaches are absolutely amazing. They give their time for free. They help you to determine the right supplements for you. And I have been working with them. They're really, really great health coaches that help you to pick out the right supplements for you that are based on the symptoms you're having, the symptoms tell us what nutrient deficiencies you are experiencing. So check out takeyoursupplements.com and talk to them about how you can reverse the symptoms you're having by addressing those nutrient deficiencies. Excellent. Thank you so much for being a listener. Thank you so much for sharing the Learn to Health podcast with those you care about. Enjoy today's episode. It is chock full of amazing, really, really great information. Have yourself a fantastic day. Welcome to the Learn True Health podcast. I'm your host, Ashley James. This is episode 459. I am so excited for today's guest. I've actually been a fan of our guest since I was a teenager. Not to age you, but you know what? Given the topic today, radical longevity, you do live what you teach. Back when I was a teenager, I think I was about 15, my mom brought home a book called Guess What Came to Dinner, and we did our first parasite cleanse. My mom was big into health and holistic medicine, and I was right there with her. I was as a young child. I remember going to the health food store with her. Well, we got on a parasite cleanse, and we actually tested positive for 3 parasites, and that's what they could test for. Gosh knows what we actually had, but it was amazing. It was amazing. And that was that blew my mind. That why isn't everyone talking about parasites? We all have them. If you've been to a different country, if you've had cats or dogs, if there's so many ways that you can get them. And so I've been a big fan of yours forever. And then you came on the show in episode 284. So listeners can go back and listen to that one as well. And today you're here to share about your new book that just got released. So it's fresh off the press. And of course, the links to your book is going to be in the show notes of today's podcast at learntruehealth.com. Radical Longevity, the powerful plan to sharpen your brain, strengthen your body, and reverse the symptoms of aging. And I look forward to learning how you've been doing that, because you're in amazing health. And we're all going to live to be 120 reading your book. So welcome to the show. Yes, absolutely. We have the genetic potential to do it. Why not? Let's do it. Welcome to the show, and welcome back, I should say. So I'd love to hear what motivated you to write this book.
That's such a good question, Ashley. This is my 37th book.
I love it. I love your fire, and I love that you have helped so many people for so many years. Oh, it's just wonderful.
Well, in that regard, my dear, and I'm so appreciative of your kind words. I've written about parasites, guess what came to dinner? I've written about weight loss, detoxification, men's health, women's health, hormones, premenopause, postmenopause, menopause, and beyond. So there was nothing else to cover except for the concept and the arena of longevity and anti-aging. Although I don't like the term anti-aging, that's really what we understand today to be the next frontier, so to speak. And I'm 70 years young, so this was the time. This is like enlightened self-interest. I figured I had to conglomerate everything I've ever learned, researched, and studied and put it into a book for a guide for my fellow compatriots and people coming before us and after us.
Why don't you like the term anti-aging?
Well, because I'm pro aging. I really think that aging is a privilege, and I want people to really stop and appreciate that. It's a privilege. Not all of
Mm.
us are going to have the opportunity to live long enough to say that they're a super ager. And so it's a privilege it's denied to too many people. And when I was looking at all the people, my friends, my associates, my compadres that had passed on before me and before their time, and they're all in the acknowledgments, I thought to myself, what were they missing? I wish they had this book in hand because maybe they'd still be with us.
Super ager. I love that. I love that. I want to live to 120. I want to be a super ager, but also be very healthy through my golden years, which is the point, right? Like we want to be able to get out there and live and be alive.
That's the point. That's the
Yeah.
point. We want to extend the youth span. I talk about preserving the youth span, extending the period of life when you have vitality, grace, gratitude, and resilience. We want to do this with resilience so that we learn to bend and not break.
And the older we get, the wiser we get, and we wish we had all these lessons when we were young. And but we really what we really want to do is maintain a vital, youthful body throughout our life so that we can at least take advantage of all this wisdom we've been collecting, right? So we can go live. So let's talk about the first part, which is to sharpen your brain. What are some things that you teach that help us keep us mentally I don't want youthful, mentally sharp?
To keep mentally sharp, you have to keep physically active. Whether that means walking daily, it could mean walking up and down your stairs if you're in an apartment or in a condo and can't get outside because of the weather. It means moving your body. It means dancing on a daily basis. It means being physically active because that helps the body, mind, and spirit. So that would be number one. Number two, what helps the brain is physical contact, connectivity, which we don't have because of the pandemic in this day and time, but hopefully that'll change. You want to have relationships with your family, with your friends, with your loved ones. It could even be virtual relationships. But connectivity is one of the traits of those super agers that we aspire to be. And then you want to have a purpose driven life. You want to wake up every morning with a purpose, whether that's being a volunteer, whether that's still working as I do at the age of 72 and going on. Well, I'll be 72 in June, so I guess I'm 70 plus. But it means really having a passion for what you do. Never give up on the joie de vivre of life, and that's exceedingly important. And of course, eating properly, taking certain supplements, which I cover at length in the book. And then I think the other aspect that's important is really having a spiritual or mental or religious practice.
You just listed like the fountain of youth, the keys to life, and you that is exactly what people need to do. And so many of us kind of get caught up in the minutia of life, and we forget to move our body in a way that brings us joy every day. We forget to really make those meaningful connections. I love that you brought up volunteering because there's so many studies that show that volunteering, people who volunteer do live longer and have
Mm.
less depression, less suicide. People who are depressed who go into volunteering end up having an increase in their mental health that there's something about serving and being part of a community of being of service to others that actually rewards us more than the
Yes.
effort that we put out. Volunteering isn't about you sacrificing or being a martyr. It's actually you get more out of volunteering than what you give. And that's so cool. That's so cool to be part of a community where you're getting so much mental health, emotional health, and as a result, physical health from volunteering. What kind of volunteering work do you do?
I volunteer on Facebook all the time. I'm answering questions 24/7. I consider that a divine volunteering job, quite frankly, because I'm helping so many people, at least point them in the direction of their health. If I can't answer them
Mm.
directly online, because that becomes a little dicey giving that kind of advice on to people that have such severe issues,
Hmm.
at least I can point them in the right direction, give them the tools, give them the website, give them the book, give them the supplement, and then they're on their own. So that's what I consider my divine passion.
Oh, I love that. I love that. That's so great. You said that you cover in depth the supplements and the diet. Can you give us a few pointers for like really, really important pointers around diet and supplements?
Well, the thing that I discovered that was the aha moment in writing the book was really the chapter on the brain and the chapter on minding your minerals. I think we call it misbehaving minerals. There are two minerals that can stockpile in the brain if they're not the proper form of the mineral or the proper cofactor, and that is the iron and the copper. So you have to make sure that your
Mm.
levels of iron and copper are kept in the minimum amounts. So taking a ferritin test on a monthly or at least on a yearly basis, I should say, would be very important for those people that have a history of Alzheimer's, because stockpiling iron in the brain has been dramatically connected to all kinds of cognitive disorders. So that would be number one. Get a ferritin test immediately. It's got to be under a certain degree. I give you the levels of what's optimally healthy and what the typical lab is going to show, but you want what's optimally healthy. The healthiest people in the world have low ferritin levels, have low serum ferritin levels. So you want to approximate what the long-lived populations have of the blue zones.
Yes, in the last year, they just published a study. I thought it was fascinating that said this could be the reason why those who eat a more plant-based diet live longer because they have more managed lower, not deficient, but managed lower iron levels because they're not, over consuming animal flesh, right, which is high in iron and it's sort of a very oxidative form of iron. And they saw that people who had lower iron levels lived longer.
They do, but if you're a meat eater or a carnivore, if you're a paleo kind of person, not there's help involved with that, because there are ways that you can circumvent the iron by eating iron blockers, and we talk about that, whether that's red wine. See, red wine is healthy because of the fact that it's a blocking agent to iron.
Mm.
That's the secret of the Mediterranean diet and the French paradox. It's the blocking effect of wine, which I go into, the blocking effect of certain types of dairy foods, the blocking effect of tea, the blocking effect of coffee.
Oh, that's fascinating. I think there's a few listeners who are liking you even more right now.
So here's to some wine, here's to some vino, a healthy vino, not more than, one small glass a day if you're a female, maybe up to two if you're a male, because too much of a good thing is too much of a good thing.
Right, exactly. And then also just watching and seeing if you become stressed out. Some people have bad sleep and then that stresses them out the next day and then that spirals downwards. So we have to watch out. Some people can't function properly when they drink any alcohol, and they just have to check in with their body and see what's going on and listen to your advice, because maybe they need to do some more cleaning up of their diet and killing parasites and um
But they're easy fixes.
yeah.
This is not an involved program. I mean, it's comprehensive because we talk about the brain, the heart, the bones, the sex drive, the hair, the nails, the skin. I'm not sure if I've covered just about everything there. We talk about all the major body organs and glands that people are concerned about. But the
Mm.
fixes are as easy as can be. If you want to spend more money, then go for that. You can as well. But taking that yearly blood test is a real key. And then, of course, the copper connection, which I go into in great detail detail is also important, and checking the copper levels of your current water supply, which you can do easily online. And I give you the levels which are optimally healthy and those that may be a precursor to Alzheimer's.
Is water the most common way we're getting copper, or are there certain foods that we should be avoiding?
Well, it's the copper that's the copper that you don't want. It's the divalent or
Oh.
inorganic. You see, what I learned from the book, and it was because a researcher contacted me out of the blue, Ashley. You know, I always think that the universe sends me messages and messengers when I'm writing a book.
Mm-hmm.
He is a researcher. His name is George Brewer. He's out of the University of Michigan. He's in the genetics department. And he called and said, I think I have the key to Alzheimer's. And I said, oh my gosh, what is it? And we had a discussion. He's written profusely. And he believes it was the implementation of copper water pipes in Europe that started the Alzheimer's epidemic. And he's correlated that in many of his different publications. So it's the inorganic copper. The copper that's in the food is food-based. That's fine. And we've got plenty of it in the diet, in the avocados, the nuts, the seeds, the beans, the shellfish. But it's the inorganic synthetic copper that the body has no method of metabolizing healthfully. It doesn't go to the liver the way the food-based copper does. It goes to the brain.
Oh my gosh, that's fascinating. I'm so glad you're pointing this out.
And nobody has written about it before, which is just blows my mind. So the idea here is that if you've got issues with Alzheimer's or want to prevent any type of dysfunction cognitively, you should get the book and read the chapter on the brain and on the minerals, the misbehaving minerals, because it will widen your eyes, it will open your eyes, it'll open your mouth, it'll be jaw dropping as it was for me.
I bet. And that's the most, we have to take care of our brain's the most important part. I liked learning from Dr. Amen, who he sees that, he helps people reverse aging in the brain, but it's all about cardiovascular function, which is your program is comprehensive. It's treating the body as a whole. But that's what I thought was fascinating, because if you can make your brain stay healthy, you're actually making your heart stay healthy. You're making your whole body stay healthy. So if you're focusing on brain health, everything else kind of falls into line. That's why I love that you've given us this checklist, moving your body and that connectivity and the eating healthy and the supplements and watching those levels of minerals. And of course, I know that your book is going to be chock full of amazing information. Now, you did mention like skin health. I know that like sagging skin and kind of loose skin starts, we're vain. We don't like it. We don't like it when our skin gets a little saggy, a little soft, a little, wrinkly. So I'm interested to hear about some skin tips for firming up skin. And then you mentioned sex drive, and I think all of us want to know how we can sort of feel youthful and still have fun with our partner no matter what age we are. So give us some of those pointers from your book for healthy skin and for healthy sex drive.
Well, I'm not a big believer in collagen per se. I rather go to the vitamin C, which is the precursor to collagen. So I'm a big vitamin C believer. The Vitality C that I talk about from Unikey Health is the C that I use on a daily basis, and the more that you can accommodate without getting loose bowels, the more that you need the vitamin C. I go to 20 grams a day without an issue whatsoever. I'm a big believer in vitamin C, a precursor to hydrogen peroxide. It'll stop cancer from progressing. As you know from my husband's book, I used to have cancer. And that is in addition to lysine. Nobody talks about the amino acid lysine or proline. Those are the two biggest assists for great skin. And I can say to you that at the age of 72, I have better skin now than I did at 25.
Oh, I love it. You mentioned your husband, James Templeton. I've had him on the show. I absolutely adore his work. I definitely recommend listeners go back and check out those interviews with James Templeton. Vitamin C is really interesting because a goat will have about 16 grams of vitamin C coursing through its veins at all times, and a wolf has about 32 grams. So how many grams do you think we should, and we don't make vitamin C, but animals do. So how many grams do you think we should have if, a wolf, we're about maybe the same size or bigger than a wolf. So, taking 20 grams a day isn't that unheard of. Isn't that, surprising. It's actually what our body needs.
Well, it's what my body needs. It's probably because of all the mercury fillings that I had years ago. But people are
Mm.
very individual. I believe in biochemical individuality.
Mm-hmm.
So I can say that what I can tolerate, you might not be able to. But one scoop of the Vitality C gives you 4 grams of C plus D-ribose for your heart plus MSM for your skin. So my point being is it's the best bang for your buck with this buffered vitamin C. And the more that you can tolerate, the more you need it. Some people can only tolerate 1 scoop. So for some reason they just it runs through their system and they can't accommodate it. But for those of us that can accommodate it, we'll see a big difference in the collagen and the dewiness of the skin, in the lack of wrinkles and the lack of sagginess.
Oh, I love it. Well, it's so hard to get enough vitamin C from our diet because our food isn't fresh. Our
Impossible.
food is you're not going out into your garden and picking something right away and eating it yourself and eating fruits and vegetables fresh all day long like we're supposed to. Your food that you're getting is weeks old, and the vitamin C is just not there anymore. It's not in the and we're definitely as a nation not eating enough plants. So we're not getting enough vitamin C from our diet, and that's why supplements is so important because we are not eating a natural way because we're not walking outdoors and immediately eating fresh food. So we have to supplement in order to catch up with the modern diet.
That's a part of it, but modern day stress will skyrocket your need for vitamin C, and we're all under
Mm,
stress. I mean, look at the news, that's stressful. Seeing what's going on in our daily political spheres is very stressful, no matter what side of the aisle you're on.
mm-hmm.
So all that is going to be stressing us. Plus, getting older is stressing us. The pandemic is stressing us. There's so many things that in the body that will respond to, and vitamin C as well as magnesium and zinc are lost because of a stress response. So you have to keep supplementing.
That is such a good point.
But the other thing is for those of us that have had any kind of PTSD because we've had concussions, and I'm one of them, the body needs more vitamin C because it's an anti-stressor.
What else does a body need to help heal concussions?
Well, that's a good question because there's one that had a near fatal concussion back in 2007. One needs brain training. It's not so much nutrients; it's repatterning the brain. So I'm a big believer in the brain training methodology that was pioneered by a group called Cereset, Cereset. So I've gone and done the brain training myself. I'm out of PTSD to some degree, but once you've had the PTSD, you get re-triggered by any kind of life event, and then your needs for all these stress-related vitamins and minerals really goes way over to the stratosphere. So that goes back to the brain, and whatever you can do to heal that brain with all the things we talked about, the connectivity, the volunteerism, having a spiritual practice, but not getting triggered is very difficult. So you have to work on it on a daily basis. I personally take GABA,
Mm-hmm.
750 milligrams morning, noon, and night. I live on Rescue Remedy and take a great deal of magnesium.
Excellent. And what form of magnesium do you take?
It's the one I formulated called Mag Key, which has the orotate, the glycinate, the taurinate, and the threonate,
Oh, that sounds great. I love me some magnesium. I'll take all of it.
as well as some Epsom salt baths as well. So whatever
Absolutely.
you can do, stress is a big killer, but it's very difficult to escape stress in this day and time.
Right. And so we gotta keep working on ourselves and stay conscious. Gotta take the supplements, like you said, have a spiritual practice. Get outside and ground yourself or do some earthing. Walk barefoot in the earth and breathe in nature. Take time to consciously bring down the stress is so important. Now, you talked about sex drive, and we all want to know how do we maintain those healthy hormones, especially postmenopausally? Like, how do we stay very youthful and healthy in the bedroom with our partner?
Well, I give one little tip in the book, which involves a particular vitamin, which I will not give away to anybody until they get the book, and then we can talk about it then. But there's one little tip that will heighten the intimate encounter. And then there's an herb, which I will tell you about, called Tribulus, which is a precursor to testosterone. And men and women can both take that at 250 milligrams per 3 times a day. Very important for testosterone, which is the hormone of desire that goes south with both men and women once they reach a certain age and stage of life. So using the Tribulus, using this little particular vitamin to heighten the encounter, maybe a little lubrication for women, as well as some natural estrogenetic products, I think is really the tip of the iceberg, and that's the key.
Thank you. Now I know you're pinched for time. I was so happy to have you on the show. You're definitely welcome back anytime. I'd love to have you. You're a wealth of knowledge. We've learned so much in such a short period of time. How can we find you on Facebook to be part of your community to continue learning from you?
Let's see, where do we go? To Ann Louise Gittleman, PhD, CNS. That's the Facebook page. And then you can get the book at radicallongevitybook.com.
Excellent. We're going to make sure the links to everything you do is in the show notes of today's podcast at learntohealth.com. We definitely want to all get the book Radical Longevity. It would also be a great gift to give to our loved ones as well. Is there anything that you'd like to say or give us some homework to wrap up today's interview?
Well, I would say that the brain is very important, but so is the liver. And those are two organs that can regenerate themselves. So I put a lot of emphasis on the brain, of course, because we're all afraid of Alzheimer's. But the liver is the regenerative organ for metabolism, for metabolizing toxins and hormones and all the poisons in the environment. So taking care of your liver daily. Liver detox is not a seasonal event, it's a daily event. So you've got to take something to get the poisons out daily. It's not the fact that we're accumulating poisons, it's the fact we're not excreting them that's the key. Mm-hmm. And that's where I like more fiber in the diet. I'm a big believer in psyllium husks. And that's where I like some sort of liver-loving food, whether that's artichoke hearts or artichoke, chlorophyll, maybe a little milk thistle, and even Oregon grape root. But the liver is the key. It means long life. Now, so keeping your liver will make sure that you enhance and ensure a long life.
I am such a fan of taking care of the liver. My mom died of liver cancer, and I've had liver issues with detoxification. So I've been working the last 6 years now on supporting my liver, and I saw a huge shift in my health when I started doing that. So I absolutely 100% agree with you. Which one of your books, or maybe there's several of them, would you recommend we read for supporting our liver? Of course, Radical Longevity, but do you have any other ones that are more specific to liver health?
Radical Metabolism.
Oh yeah, that was the last book we talked about in episode 284. Excellent. Thank you so much again, Ann Louise Gittleman, for coming on the show. You're welcome back anytime. We'd love to have you. I'm a big fan of your work. I definitely recommend listeners read all your books and continue following you. And I can't wait to interview you when you're 120.
We'll see you on the other side of 100, my love. You're a sweetheart. God bless.